welcome back to lecture number 93. This is historical topic 9.4, a changing economy, and the theme is work, exchange, and technology. Technology is going to be something that we talk about a lot today. One learning objective, that is explain the causes and effects of economic and technological change over time. And we're going to start with improvements in communication. So economic productivity increased as improvements in digital communications enabled an increased American participation in worldwide economic opportunities. What this means is that the economy got better. Economic productivity increased as a result of greater communication, greater developments in technology, and the companies that are driving this growth are these technology companies that in the United States are located in Silicon Valley. So Apple, Intel, Microsoft up in Seattle, but AOL, Yahoo, they're all part of what's called the dot-com boom. So these technology companies are growing, internet access is growing, and people are buying up website domains. Now, because it is a boom, that is going to give you an idea that in the future there's going to be a bust, and that's going to come in the 21st century. But the 90s were a good economic growth period for the United States. GDP grew steadily at 4%, and unemployment went all the way down to 3.9%. That is what economists call full employment by the year 2000. 3.9% is full employment because there's always going to be a small percentage of the labor force that's going to be in between jobs looking for the next thing. Increased participation and economic opportunities was also aided by the improvements in communication. So the use of the internet leads to the use of e-commerce, and we've already talked about the taking down trade barriers by free trade agreements like NAFTA and our membership into the WTO. And so as countries are better able to trade with each other because of a lack of restrictions, then that's also going to drive up economic activity. All right, so technological innovations in computing, digital, mobile technology, and the internet transformed daily life and increased access to information and led to new social behaviors and networks. So as far as transformation in daily life, we have become reliant on the internet and technology. You are currently watching this on a website that is fueled by the internet. GPS navigation is also becomes widespread in the United States. Now people can use GPS navigation to find a new route to wherever they're going. It can track someone's run. It can tell where people are, where loved ones are if they're lost. And credit card transactions make buying things a lot easier and faster. And as you swipe the credit card, there needs to be some sort of digital communication to the internet where the credit card issuer can approve the transaction. And as more and more people are able to get credit cards, the faster they're able to buy things, the more economic activity that's going to be produced from it. And we also have increased access to information. So this is speeding up discoveries and innovations in technology. We map the entire human genome. We're able to now see what's going on inside of people's brains with MRIs. And most importantly of all, we're able to develop vaccines at a faster rate than ever before. The one that you see pictured there is a smallpox vaccine, which has allowed the United States to bring down the level of smallpox in the United States to where it's nearly completely gone. And as you know now, the coronavirus vaccines that were developed within just 1 year of the coronavirus being discovered. All right, and as far as new social behaviors, there is a danger in giving away too much information through these new social media companies, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. All of them get personal information and demographic information on their users, their age, their sex, gender, their profession, their interest, and then they use that information to sell products to those people. So if you ever thought that your phone is listening to your conversations and all of a sudden you see an ad for something that you were thinking about buying, that's because these companies have algorithms that can figure out, based on your demographic, based on your identifying information, what kind of products you are likely to buy, and then they show you those ads. So that's really good for technological innovation and for economic activity, not so good for your wallet. And as we saw in the 2016 election, this can also be used maliciously. So people can be targeted for their political views and they can be shown information that may not be true, and it will lead them to take certain actions. All right, so employment increased in service sectors and decreased in manufacturing, and union membership also declined. This was something that had continued from the 1980s to the present day. There's an increase in service sector jobs. These service sector jobs are usually lower paying and they have no benefits. And so as people may be employed, they may not be employed to the level that's going to allow them to have a living wage. And so we stopped paying so much attention to the unemployment rate, and now we are putting more importance on the underemployment rate. The percentage of people that need to work multiple jobs in order to make ends meet. The decrease in manufacturing comes about because of cheap labor abroad in other countries and the reduction in trade barriers. So if a company can outsource their labor to a country where they can pay their laborers less, and they don't have to pay tariffs whenever they import those goods back into the United States, then that's going to create more profit for that company, and that's the path of action that they're going to take. So it's going to lead to a loss of manufacturing jobs here in the United States, and with that goes union membership. So it goes to as low as 12% by the late 90s, down from 30% in the 1960s. A lot of this is because the manufacturing jobs that were present throughout the Midwest to the Northeast were usually union jobs. Additionally, states begin to pass what are called the right to work laws, which make it illegal for a union to have what's called a closed shop. So a closed shop industry is one in which you have to join the union before you can be given a job in that industry. So normally when we think of unions, we normally think of these manufacturing unions or the United Auto Workers, but there's also teachers unions. And as we saw in the year 2019 and early 2020, there were teachers all across the Southwest. The picture you see here is from Arizona, in which teachers are asking for a living wage, that they were not being paid enough. And so their campaign was called Red for Ed. All right, so real wages stagnated for the working and middle class amid growing economic inequality. So despite this huge period of economic growth that started in the 1990s, we begin to see that the top 10% of the population in terms of wealth are holding the majority of the nation's wealth. So by 1999, the top 20% of households received 50% of all income, and there was an even greater disparity for racial minorities. By 2010, the top 1% had 43% of the wealth, and as you can see in the graph in the bottom right, the top 10% here held about 75% of the nation's wealth. A lot of this has to do with the new economy and the changes that happened, that those high-paying manufacturing jobs are going away. It also deals with the reduction in tax burden that came about as a result of the conservative movement. And after the Great Recession, this inequality begins to be protested against in what was called the Occupy movement that started with Occupy Wall Street. The people who were at the bottom end of these income disparity began to call for greater government action on this economic inequality. So you can see here that they call themselves the 99% because the 1% of the population had so much more of the nation's wealth and the nation's income. All right, so that was it. We have growth and technology leading to economic growth and to changing daily life for Americans, growth in the lower paying service sector jobs, and a decline of the higher paying manufacturing, usually union jobs, and finally, economic inequality rose through this latter half of the 20th century, the smaller population holding a greater share of the nation's wealth. All right, thank you for watching. Please come back for number 94, in which we will be getting pretty close to the end here. So we only have about 3 more lectures left before the end of the course. I hope that you're staying with this. I hope that you feel like you're ready for the AP exam. I will see you on the next one.